We see that there is a kind of expectation around the world in relation to the presidency, and it seems that everyone starts from this new situation and decides on the next steps. What will be the biggest difference between the resigned Biden and the Trump administration in office?
Everything. Everything will change. Today is Friday, but the inauguration is due to be held on Monday morning, above the Western world. It is the end of a painful, difficult, and painful 4 years, the fourth term of the Democratic government. The beginning of it has already started badly. After all, the presidency was taken by deception from Donald Trump. So in 2020, if they do not cheat, which is still only an example in Western democracy, or at least it should be, then Donald Trump would have remained president, and then there would be no Ukrainian-Russian war, to draw attention to only one important difference. But after the president was cheated, the president was pulled out of the election. There was a democratic government. A democratic government is always different from a Republican, not only in terms of content, but also in terms of methods. The Republicans are based on a national basis, and the Democrats are globalists. And through organizations that connect the world, which are not directly American government organizations, but they are connected to the American government. So through such a network, they enrich their interests. This is the most well-known branch of this. A network that can be described by the name of George, the son of our country. But there are a few more. This is not the only one in the world. In Asia, in Africa, others are also working in the interest of the American Democrats. As the prison guard, the smuggler says in the movie, they are a branch of themselves. So the Soros and the Democrats are essentially part of a large network. They have basic economic interests, and the politics is underpinned by their economic interests. They have strong intentions to improve the world, so they think that it is their obligation, their right, and their mission to improve humanity. That is, to force the countries to do what they think is right there in Washington, as Democrats. At this time, migration and migratory chaos precede the world. At this time, gender equality is liberated, so traditional families are more likely to withdraw if the American Democrats come, because then there will be pride. Smugglers, transgenders, non-transformers, then the world is no longer made up of men and women, but we do not know how many species. So this is the second consequence. And they do not hesitate to achieve their goals with war, as they did with the Russian-Ukrainian war.
Watching the world burn, January 19th, 2025. One day until the world changes. Latest breaking news. So this was huge. Mike Turner, a deep state operative of 22 years out of Ohio, has been removed from the Intel Committee by Mike Johnson. We got rid of one deep state swamp rat. Woohoo! So that was the first thing. And this is just the latest breaking news. General Mike Flynn, he came out and he said, many more. And there is no more sniffing. Many more. There's no more sniffing them out. They're caught. They just don't know it yet. Trump said he was going to clean the swamp. So, what can you say? Let's go on down here. Sorry, got a throat here. By the way, Donald Trump will suspend the security clearances of all 51 former intelligence officers who lied about the Hunter Biden laptop. I was real curious about that one, but makes sense. I mean, that's if you're gonna lie, you shouldn't have a security clearance. That's for doggone sure. Breaking incoming Trump admin to launch investigation. This is Alex Jones, by the way. To launch investigation to discover who's been running the White House after it was revealed Joe Biden was indeed the puppet Americans knew him to be. I do want to know that. I think, okay, could have been Blinken, could have been Sullivan, but it's going to be real curious to find out who it was. This is Insurrection Barbie, and this was, I got this over here. Now, he did mention he's going to put an Iron Dome over America. Now, I don't see how that's going to work. Russia's got the best air defenses in the world, but maybe, at least he's going to spend money on it. I think that's a good idea. This is huge. Declassification of the JFK files and the Bobby Kennedy files, from what I understand, and Martin Luther King Jr. files. So that's going to be huge. Of course, Trump is going to be putting tariffs on China. So that's kind of like the latest and greatest. But let's get into the actual video here. By the way, what'd you think of Orban at the beginning there, huh? Did he tell you what a Democrat was or what? I mean, I just happened to find that, by the way, I'm going to put a link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube or the Burn channel on Rumble. And if you want to see, because the whole video is really fantastic. I just cut it where he was done talking about the Democrats, but then he also went into what was taking place in Europe and how the Democrats are moving to Madrid, or Soros, his organization. And then he's talking about he wants to send them back to the United States. So he says because they don't want Democrats in over there. So this is so anyway. Let's get into this was my favorite quote, and this is if you don't know who Dmitry Medvedev is, he's kind of a loudmouth spokesman for Putin, more or less. And he put up an X post, and I loved this. Joe the Walking Dead is gone. This is out of Russia now. Joe the Walking Dead is gone. He left a grim legacy for his successor. As things stand, full normalization of relations between the United States and Russia is impossible. And frankly speaking, it's unclear whether we actually need it. So what he's saying is, Russia doesn't really want to talk to the United States. They're winning the war. What's Trump going to do? I mean, the only thing that Trump can do is, if he was smart, he would say, this is Joe Biden's war. It's not my war. It's not the United States war. And he should just cut the money off and say, okay, the United States is willing to host a conference between Russia, Ukraine, and Europe, more or less as just kind of a mediator, and you guys work it all out. That'd be the smartest thing he could do. But I bet he's not going to do that. He's got too many war hawks in his administration, but we'll see. Maybe he certainly won't take that cybersecurity guy's advice. Nobody knows. By the way, I got quite a few views on the last video. I was shocked. This is from Colin Rugg. And because this is kind of going back. And this is, so I kind of wanted to look at the past before we get into the present, although I had to hit the latest and greatest up front. And it says, during a one-on-one meeting, Speaker Johnson asked President Biden why he paused LNG exports to Europe. Says Biden was completely unaware he had done so. The United States hasn't had a president for 4 years. Speaker, and this is something that I don't understand. You remember they impeached Trump, how many times? 3, I think, or two or three, I can't remember. I mean, it was so stupid. I mean, and then, of course, 16 law cases against him, shot in the head. I mean, the guy, the stuff he's been through is unbelievable. But, so when Speaker Johnson, this was like a year and a half ago that this took place. I've got a video on this. Why wasn't he 25th Amendment out? If Speaker Johnson knew this, he's second in line to the presidency. Why wasn't the 25th Amendment invoked? I mean, He let us go for a year and a half with a vegetable for a president. So anyway, let's watch that video right now on Speaker Johnson.
I do stand by it, and I say this without any personal animus at all. I mean, in some ways, I actually kind of feel sorry for Joe Biden. I mean, he's in the twilight years of his life. He is not, obviously, has not been in charge for some time. And I know this by personal observation, and now the whole world knows it, and it's been very, very concerning to me over the last, year and a half since I've had this position. Can you tell us
a story when you say personal observation?
Well, I mean, it's public now because the Wall Street Journal got it and put it on the front page. But January a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, I had been asked. I became Speaker in October 2023, and there were all sorts of big national security concerns and everything going on. And I started requesting a meeting with the president because I'm kind of old school. I'm a constitutional law guy. The Speaker of the House should be able to talk to the president, especially in times of great national interest and calamity. But they wouldn't let me meet with him, and his staff kept giving me excuses. This went on for like 8 or 9 weeks. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, he doesn't have time. What are you talking about? I'm second in line of the presidency. He has time. I need to talk to him. We had, I can't say the classified parts, but we had some big national concerns at the time that I was losing sleep over. Finally, I just went to the Hill Press Corps and I said, the president is not being allowed to meet with the Speaker. There's a problem. So they started putting pressure on him. Long story short, they finally relented. They invited me to the White House. I show up and I realize it's actually an ambush because it's not just me and the president. It's also Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem, the CIA director, everybody. And then, so I walked in the Oval and, I know what this is. They're going to hotbox the Speaker on Ukraine funding. That's what it was. This is probably third week of January. We sit down, we're in the midst of it, and the whole conversation, and I'm going, we don't need to have this conversation. The president reaches over just like this. We're sitting right next to the fireplace in the Oval, and he grabs my arm and he says, the Speaker and I just need a couple minutes together. Would y'all just leave us alone? And I looked up on the faces of some of the staff standing around the wall, and they're like, oh, no, he did it. So he called it. He's the commander-in-chief. So everybody leaves, and he and I are standing awkwardly in the middle of the Oval Office right over the rug by that coffee table. And I said, Mr. President, thanks for the moments. This is very important. I got some big national security things I need to talk to you about that I've heard, and I think you know, and what do we do? But first, real quickly, Mr. President, can I ask you a question? I cannot answer this from my constituents in Louisiana. Sir, why did you pause LNG exports to Europe? I don't understand, liquefied natural gas is in great demand by our allies. Why would you do that? Because you understand, we just talked about Ukraine. You understand you're fueling Vladimir Putin's war machine because they got to get their gas from him, And he looks at me, stunned with this, and he said, I didn't do that. And I said, Mr. President, yes, you did. It was an executive order 3 weeks ago. And he goes, no, I didn't do that. And he's arguing with me. I said, Mr. President, respectfully, could I go out here and ask your secretary to print it out? We'll read it together. You definitely did that. And he goes, oh, you talk about natural gas. Yes, sir. He said, no, you misunderstand. He said, what I did is I signed this thing we're gonna conduct a study on the effects of LNG. I said, no, you're not, sir. You paused it. I know. I have the export terminals in my state. I talked to those people this morning. This is doing massive damage to our economy, national security. It occurred to me, Barry, he was not lying to me. He genuinely did not know what he had signed. And I walked out of that meeting with fear and loathing because I thought, we're in serious trouble. Who is running the country? I don't know who put the paper in front of him, but he didn't know.
Okay, so there was that video. By the way, I did, just a brief on the California fire. As far as I know, it's still raging. I'm not sure how much is left. But I keep adding to the things that we find out about the fire. And so, if you go back in my videos, I was the first to report on it, I don't know, when it started. Okay, and then I made another video, and so now I'm just going to add to it. So one of the things that, people are pointing out is, especially in California or anywhere, it's important to catch the fire as it starts. You think about it. I'll give you a military example. Okay, I one time, when we were setting off some explosives, I set up a cannon, kind of a homemade cannon, and it launched over into a field. Well, I didn't know that the field was on fire. Imagine if you could have gotten there right after the field caught on fire, you could basically stomp out an area, 8 feet. Well, since it didn't, we didn't know the field was on fire for about maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes. And somebody goes, fire! fire, and so the whole damn company, we had to go in there and try to get that fire out, man. Everybody, because it was, I mean, the whole damn base could have gone up, man. I would have been responsible. That just tells you who I was in the military. I just loved playing with explosives. But anyway, so anyway, what I'm saying is, if we had caught it in the beginning, I probably could have put it out just by myself. But instead, it had grown so big that it took the whole company to put it out. So that's the first thing, is why wasn't they there to catch the fire when it started, which means that you should have pre-staged equipment. So let's take Florida as an example and what Governor DeSantis does here. Okay, when we know a hurricane's coming in, he brings in the electrical trucks and everything else and pre-stages them in areas where it looks like the hurricane is tracking in on. And they even get shuffled around at the last minute so that they're in place once the hurricane blows over to go in and immediately start taking care of things. Why didn't California pre-stage any equipment? So that's another thing that they didn't do.
What we're doing today.
Actively shutting off the gas to these homes.
Listen to this. Oh my God, it stinks.
Look at electrical wires everywhere and shit.
Watch yourself. Come up. There you go. Nice. Nicely done.
Dozens of these gas
Look at this.
leaks have shut off today.
Wow.
I mean, if Newsom, that guy should not be in power, man. I mean, and especially that idiot Karen, what is it, Karen Bagg or whatever her name is? If you know her name is Karen, I mean, she's dumber than a bag of stones, and she's still mayor of Los Angeles. Los Angeles, man, you need to recall this. I mean, maybe a Democrat or two actually woke up. By the way, somebody, might have been Scott, I think it was Scott Ritter, he called Democrats zombies. I said, no, Scott, they're meat puppets. So we're arguing back and forth, me and Scott Ritter. He calls them zombies, I call them meat puppets. All right, so that's it on the California fire. We also got some information on what Trump's going to do when he gets in. He did say we're going to be impressed with the January 6 pardons, which I would hope means that they've already vetted most everybody they're going to pardon day one. And hopefully, obviously the FBI operatives, any of those that got caught up in the J6 insurrection that got put in jail, we want to keep those in jail. Okay, I was for a blanket pardon of just everybody because I was thinking, maybe there's a couple of Antifa in there or whatever. Well, if they've already vetted them, this would be good. So that I bet about 99% of them are going to get pardoned. He's going to declare a national emergency on the border. Now, what that means, because it's declared as a national emergency, that gives Trump access to additional resources that he wouldn't have if it wasn't a national emergency. So that's going to be good. DEI, gone, day one. No more diversity, equity, and inclusion anywhere. That's going to be good. And then he's also, I don't know how he's going to do this because I thought Biden put some language in there or that he was going to have to fight legally, but he says he's going to, day one, open up drilling offshore and on federal lands. Now, if he can do that, that's great. So, but I did kind of want to go back in history here just a little bit, and this is a post, by the way, this is all Insurrection Barbie, and she made a really good post, and this is a good point. It says 340,000 migrant children were in the custody of Joe Biden's federal government and are now missing. I repeat, 340,000 migrant children went missing under the watch of Joe Biden's Department of Homeland Security. I never, ever want to hear about the family separation policy under Trump. Trump's Department of Homeland Security separated children from adults to ensure that these children were not trafficked in here, but were actually with their parents, and that is why they had DNA testing at the border. Guess who removed that requirement? That would be Joe Biden. Don't talk to me about family separation when you were silent about 340,000 missing migrant children. Somebody, somewhere, ask a damn Democrat. How can they be for 340,000 children probably getting raped across the country? Ask a Democrat that question. Please, guide. Somebody leave me a comment. I still never get comments about anybody asking a Democrat a question about the horror story that they've left for Donald Trump to clean up. But anyway, so we got a good video here. So Tom Homan confirms that immigration raids will be starting on Tuesday in several cities. That they are highly organized and coordinated, and that they will be looking for public safety threats they know are in the country. So he's going to start day one. I got a brief video on him.
Incoming border czar Tom Homan confirming to Fox News today that immigration raids will begin in several cities the day after the president-elect is sworn in. So Tuesday, the focus will be on individuals who are public safety threats. Here's Homan.
They're going to be targeted enforcement operations. When ICE goes out, they're going to know exactly who they're looking for, pretty much where they'll find him. It's a well-planned operation. So we're going to do this with or without their help. I'm sure we'll be sued, but bring it. They're not going to stop us. They're not going to bully us from doing this job.
Yeah, in this job, they want to hit the ground running, as of many other topics and issues that the campaign has been promising. We've seen some people already showing up here outside of the golf club.
Okay, so that was Tom Homan. And I'm not sure. I'm hoping that there's a couple of people that have identified a lot of these pedophile facilities across the United States. I would hope he's going to be working on that. I do believe we're going to be rescuing a lot of kids from what the Democrats did to them. So that'll be great. That'll be great if that takes place. You saw that video on Tom Homan. This was just a cute post. Well, not this one. Okay. So Chinese President Xi was invited. And he sent, so this is just a brief post on who's attending now. So Chinese President Xi was invited, but he sent his vice president in his place. So this would be like J.D. Vance going to China, you know. And the Argentine President, Javier Milei, has confirmed he will be attending. And Italian President Meloni is expected to be there. Now, what I found much more interesting is who wasn't invited. Because Macron was not invited, President Macron, the globalist leader of France. Zelensky, even though he requested 3 times to be able to attend Trump's inauguration, he was rejected 3 times. That's humiliating. and then Prime Minister Keir Starmer out of Britain, he wasn't invited. And European President Ursula von der Leyen, the German Chancellor, and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz also were not invited. So don't you find it much more interesting who wasn't invited rather than who was invited? I just thought that was interesting. You know what? Last video I talked about TikTok, and I just kind of wanted to... I was going to put this video up, but they put it to music. And it's just too damn difficult, you know, because I can't take the music out. And yeah, it's only going to get copyrighted on YouTube, but I hate it when people put these. But it was a great video of a World War II veteran. He's 102 years old, and he was talking about how he's got a lot of kids that follow him on TikTok. And he was saying, you know, I'm able to educate them about the history of World War II for TikTok, and he was begging, of course, Biden at that time and President Trump not to, to get rid of TikTok. Now, from what I understand, Trump has extended TikTok for 90 days, I guess, to find a solution. But the solution is just leave it be, man. And you know it's the Israeli lobby that's taking down TikTok. It has nothing to do with security or China or anything like that. It's all about Israel because they didn't like the fact that people were learning about the genocide in Gaza, and I call it a genocide. A lot of people say, well, you quit calling it a genocide. Well, a spade is spade. This is interesting, and I got a video on this. Only members of the U.S. House and Senate will be allowed in the rotunda for Trump's swearing in. Let's watch that video.
Breaking news from Real America's Voice. Well, we've got some breaking news for you. It was just announced that only Congress and the Senate, along with their spouses, they will be the only people allowed in the rotunda for the swearing in. Terry, your initial thoughts on that breaking news?
Yeah, I mean, all throughout the day, there's been a lot of questions. Brian Glenn was just on us at the top of the show talking about a lot of people are wondering that are already in D.C., already out there, have their tickets, are wondering what they're going to be doing, how they'll be able to view it. Will they be able to view it, Bo?
Yeah, this is kind of what I thought is just the VIPs, so to speak, the ones that are really closely involved will be the ones closest to him. And again, that may be a weather reason, but it could also be a security reason.
Yeah, that's what Brian was saying.
Okay, and then I thought this was just a cool video. So this guy, I don't know, it's probably like a question and answer, and Trump was out, and I swear, I love how Trump sometimes he seems to just spontaneously do stuff. And that's the beauty of him. When he sees a wrong, he just writes it right there on the spot. Especially now that he's been born again after almost getting shot. I think that was a religious awakening for him, man. But anyway, this is just an interesting video. So this guy was fired because, well, I'll let you watch the video, but Trump's going to hire him back.
My name is Matt Lohmeyer. I was an Air Force F-15 pilot, and I was a commander in your newly created U.S. Space Force. I am also the first veteran of the Space Force because under the Biden-Harris regime, I was fired from my command and lost my pension for criticizing DEI trainings that were rampant in the military. Those trainings are still dividing our troops, and thank you for saying you would fire those few woke generals who are a big problem.
They're gone.
I'm going to suggest that it might, in fact, require ongoing oversight and a persistent, consistent, watchful eye within the Pentagon to ensure this monster never returns to the Defense Department. Will you consider establishing a special task force, office, or position to ensure that these monsters never return to the Defense Department?
You know what I'll do? And I'm pretty good at this stuff. Sometimes you get it wrong. I'm going to put you on that task force. I think it's good. Not going to do better than him. I'll put you on. Make sure you give the name. Thank you. Beautiful, right? I have your approval.
Yes, sir.
I have your approval. We're not going to get better than him. You're right about it. You're right. 100%. Thank you.
So wasn't that cool? I just thought that was cool. Hi. Oh, and so here we go. There's talk now that we're going to try to get voter ID in all 50 states. Now, I don't know how Trump federally is going to be able to get that. If you could get Congress to pass a law that a voter ID is required, because it's only in Democrat states. They are cheating for sure. You saw Orban there in the beginning. Even Europe knows the Democrats cheat like hell. Otherwise, why would you not want voter ID? But anyway, so I thought this was an interesting video. So it says footage has been obtained of an election worker in Orange County, California, counting the same large stack of ballots 3 times on the evening of November 8th. Republicans lost a House seat in Orange County a month after the election, by the way. So if you didn't know, California was counting ballots all the way up to a month after the election. And, initially the Republicans, I don't know how many seats we lost, initially the Republicans had won. Okay? Well, a month later, somehow the Democrats pulled things out. Imagine that. But this will show you how they did it right here. We don't know if there is a legitimate reason for the workers' actions. We just have the video. But the worker pushed the same batch through the machine 3 times. The real shocker of this entire episode caught on video is that this all occurred after Orange County received a bomb threat, and before, boy, isn't that a repetitive theory? remember in Atlanta when all of the water sprinklers, anyway, they said there was a fire or the sprinklers went off or whatever, and they chased everybody out, and then the Democrats rushed back into the building and started counting ballots. Or let's remember Detroit when they kicked all the Republicans out and then covered up the windows so nobody could see what the hell they were doing. They were cheating like hell, man. Oh my God. But anyway, the real shocker caught on video. It all occurred in Orange County. Received a bomb threat and removed from the ballot. The workers, or the Republicans, were removed from the ballot counting facility. Boy, it's kind of like rinse and repeat with the Republicans. Let's watch that video. Okay, so that was to music, and I put it up on YouTube to see if it gets copyrighted, and if it doesn't, I'll leave the music in. If not, the reason it was silent is I had to take the music out. All right, I just want to get on to some other news. I mean, right now everything's on the election and what's the transition and everything else, but this was interesting. Mario Nafal, he was reporting on Sudan. And and this is the thing we don't get in the news anywhere. You don't know what the hell's going on because the mainstream or the legacy media doesn't report on anything that's of import. And granted, Sudan's not that important to us, but I mean, I'd still want to know what's going on, right? So it says 25 million in need of aid as conflict worsens. Sudan's civil war has displaced 9 million plus people since April of 2023. Fighting between the military, SAF, and the paramilitary, RSF, is devastating infrastructure and pushing 18 million into severe food insecurity. Neighboring countries face massive refugee flows, risking regional instability. The UN warns the Sudan could face the world's largest hunger crisis without immediate aid. With 25 million plus needing help and only 17% of the 2.7 billion aid request funded, the crisis deepens daily. Maybe the Democrats, because they're all caring, right? Democrats are all caring. Rather than sending $6 billion to Ukraine, maybe they should have helped Sudan just a little bit. What do you think? They call themselves humanitarians. I don't know. What do you think? Experts say rebuilding could take generations, even if fighting stopped today. Source: the Council of Foreign Relations. By the way, if you didn't know, in Romania right now, they held an election, and of course the globalists, the Democrats, if you want to say, they didn't like the outcome of the election. And so at first they were saying that it was Russian disinformation that was on TikTok, and that was the reason that because they didn't hold the second round to get the election because they didn't like the outcome. And then a judge said, no, we're not gonna hold the second round. Well, anyway, there's some massive protests going on, and I just wanted, so the Romanian presidential election winner, and I just, Calin, Calin, Gorscu, Georgescu, NATO CU coup that has overthrown his country. So basically what now the judge is saying is that they're going to hold a new election, but with new candidates, because they don't want this guy to run again. And so there's big protests going on right now in Romania. I'm proud of the Romanian people. I mean, I saw one like 150,000. I mean, can you imagine 150,000 people on the streets of Romania? So we'll see. Maybe they'll get a free and fair election, but I don't know, man. The globalists, they're putting their foot down. They don't want a nationalist government, and they're not like we're just got here in the United States. This is interesting. This is what's going on in Germany. This is from Zlat71. The German left-wing chancellor candidate, Sahar, S-A-H-R-A, Sarah, I can't pronounce this last name, Wagenknecht. These German names, W-A-G-E-N-K-N-E-C-H-T, has called for lifting sanctions against Russia and maintaining the import of Russian gas. In her view, the United States sanctions policy has nothing to do with the Ukrainian conflict and solely aimed at boosting the American economy. Wagenknecht also described Washington's restrictions on Russia as a program to kill German and European companies, as quoted by Die Welt. It is worth noting that Wagenknecht also advocates for banning the supply of German weapons to Ukraine. So if you didn't understand, because of Biden blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. By the way, ask a Democrat about that environmental disaster that was caused by that. One of the biggest in probably human history. And Democrats are all for the environment. Oh, we got climate change. Woo! Ask a Democrat about that. But anyway, but her point is that, they're buying LNG from the United States. And by the way, they are still getting LNG from Russia, but at a much higher price. And it's wiping them out, man. It's killing their economy. Their industry's going bankrupt. Volkswagen may move to the United States. I mean, so she's absolutely right. The Biden administration or the globalists, they want Germany destroyed. Otherwise, why else would you not get cheap Russian gas? This was Elon Musk. I just love this statement. A 12-year-old script kiddie could hack into Yellen's computer. If you didn't know, Janet Yellen was hacked. By the way, she's gone now. She walked out. But she says the government's bankrupt. She left everything for Trump's administration to deal with. So we're bankrupt after Tuesday. I don't know how they're going to deal with that. I guess the new Treasury Secretary is going to have to come up with something. It says, I doubt she knows how to reboot her Wi-Fi router, and that was Elon. Which she probably doesn't. She probably doesn't even know what a Wi-Fi router is. I mean, Yellen was one of the dumbest people I've ever seen. So this is Mario Nafal. Chinese state-sponsored hackers reportedly infiltrated U.S. Treasury Department in December, compromising systems including devices belonging to the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, and her deputies. Hackers accessed fewer than 50 files on Yellen's machine. The breach occurred via BeyondTrust, a third-party cybersecurity provider, marking what Treasury officials labeled as a major incident. China denied involvement, stating it opposes hacking in all forms. This breach highlights rising cybersecurity tensions between the United States and China, raising concerns over safeguarding sensitive government systems, source Newsmax. This is, by the way, so let's continue on the Democrat theme for just a minute. So there was a statistic that came out. I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. The 25 cities with the most crime are all Democrat cities. The 25 cities with the most crime are all Democrat cities. So let's get into Charlie Kirk. So this is in San Francisco, and Walgreens will now close 12 stores in San Francisco. How much more self-inflicted abuse will Californians absorb before they demand change? They're all meat puppets, man. They are the Borg. They're going to vote Democrat. You could sit there and kill their baby, and they'd still vote Democrat, or send in the Gestapo. But anyway, let's watch that video.
Remember, it was only 2 months ago when a car rammed into the front entrance of this location. Construction crews at the time said it was an unsuccessful attempt at breaking into the ATM and part of a concerning trend in the Bay Area.
It's disheartening. to say the least, yeah.
In a statement, Walgreens called the closures necessary and said increased regulatory and reimbursement pressures are weighing on our ability to cover the costs associated with rent, staffing, and supply needs. Although the company made no mention of crime or shoplifting as the reason, neighbors say they see it all the time.
I mean, I get it. I've seen horrible things happen in here. Like people stealing things, just coming in with bags and just going into their bag. I've seen kids, I've seen homeless people doing it, I've seen people that seem like they don't need to be doing it.
The Potrero Hill location is the same one, tied to a major Walgreens crime spree over the span of several months last year, which resulted in the arrests of 8 suspects, some as young as 12 years old. San Francisco police said the group is accused of committing 23 thefts over 4 months, stealing more than $84,000 in Walgreens merchandise.
We need this. We need this, to, just in case we don't feel good and we want to send our kids down to get toilet paper, soap, all that good stuff.
All right, so that was that poor woman. By the way, this is just a cool video. I found this, but I did find the end of this. The Berev BE-200 of the Russian Ministry of Emergency, world's fastest and most efficient amphibious firefighting aircraft. It does not need to land to refill, scooping up 12,000 liters of water in just under 15 seconds. Russia is willing to help combat the wildfires if Biden asks. Of course, Biden didn't ask, nor did Newsom. But the Russians were willing to send their firefighting aircraft over here to help us out. What do you think of that? Ooh, that mean Putin, that bad Putin. Ooh, that Putin, he's a dictator, yeah. Anyway, so they were offered to send them here, but let's watch that video. It was cool. All right, so that was the plane scooping up the water. I just thought it was a really cool video. So let's keep going here. We got one more, and we're going to finish up right here. So a video, cops shooting at innocent January 6 protesters. It says, goes on Fox and tells the world that only nonviolent protesters should get pardoned. Well, if you didn't know, the cops infuriated the crowd. They were shooting rubber bullets in. They hit them with tear gas. And then the Capitol Police beat the hell out of a woman. I don't have her name. I did in a previous video. And she died. There were only 2 fatalities on January 6th. You had Ashley Babbitt and this woman that got beat to death on the stairs by the Capitol Police. And the people that protected her ended up in the gulag, the Democrats, as political prisoners for the last 4 years. Unbelievable. That's it for the video today. Peace out. Stay free.